Winnie and Silas have been married for 3 months. This marriage was nothing but a commercial game between our two families. My father's company hit a critical financial crisis and needed capital injection from Shin Group desperately. As the top elite family in North City, the Shins needed a well-bred, well-matched daughter-in-law to silence public gossip. Me, Winnie G., ended up being the perfect candidate. The day we got our marriage license, the weather was beautiful. Warm sunlight streamed through the Civil Affairs Bureau's glass windows. Silas wore a crisp tailored black suit. His features were sharp, with deep eyes and a tall straight nose. He looked exactly like a high-end finance magazine cover model, noble, yet distant. He took the red marriage certificate, only glanced at it briefly, then slipped it straight into his suit inner pocket. He did not show any extra expression, nor say a single extra word the whole time. I told myself this was normal. A marriage built on business deals was just a transaction. I shouldn't hold any unrealistic fantasies. After the wedding, we moved into a villa on the city outskirts. The house was huge, luxuriously decorated yet empty, like an ornate gilded cage. Silas treated me well, or more accurately, politely. He remembered my birthday, told his assistant to book the hardest-to-get restaurant, and sent me extremely expensive gifts. At family gatherings, he would subtly block tricky nosy questions from relatives for me. When I caught a cold, he told the housemaid Martha to boil ginger soup for me. But he never stepped foot inside my bedroom. Our bedrooms sat at opposite ends of the second-floor hallway, a clear dividing line between us. Every morning, he left informal business while I stayed in my art studio sketching illustrations. Every night, he came home reeking of alcohol, and I would lock my bedroom door and pretend to be asleep. We acted like two roommates sharing the same roof, living completely separate lives. I comforted myself that this arrangement was fine. Polite distance with no fights was far better than bitter couples who screamed at each other all day. I never had big ambitions. All I wanted was to draw my illustrations in peace. Silas gave me a stable life, a bright spacious art studio, and an unlimited black credit card. In exchange, I only needed to play the role of Mrs. Shin, elegant, proper, and never cause him trouble. This transaction was a total win for me. That all changed at the Shin family's monthly dinner party. Silas's mother, a well-maintained, elegant, wealthy matriarch, grabbed my hand and smiled warmly. "Winnie, you and Cyan have been married 3 months already. Why haven't you gotten pregnant yet?" My fingers whitened as I squeezed my fruit juice glass, unsure how to reply. All surrounding relatives turned their heads to stare, their eyes full of curiosity and speculation. I forced an awkward smile, ready to make up an excuse to dodge the question. Silas's cold voice cut through the crowd beside me. "Mom, we're still young. There's no rush." He held a glass of red wine, walked to my side, and casually wrapped an arm around my shoulder, pulling me away from the suffocating circle of relatives. His palm was warm, seeping through my thin formal dress against my skin. I stiffened, not daring to move an inch. This was the first time he'd shown such public physical closeness with me. I could feel every pair of eyes locked on us. I even heard a young cousin whisper in awe, "Wow, Big Brother spoils his wife so much." Spoil me? A bitter twinge rose in my chest. Only I knew all of this was just an act. The arm around my shoulder held no real warmth, like he was finishing a mandatory task. After the banquet ended, the car ride home was dead silent. I stared at the neon lights rushing past the window, my mind a tangled mess. "Thank you for earlier," I mumbled quietly. He kept his eyes fixed on the road, knuckles prominent on the steering wheel. "Just part of my duties," he replied flatly, only 3 short words. There were those 3 words again. I clamped my mouth shut, no longer bothering to seek his attention. The car pulled into the villa's garage and stopped. He climbed out, and I followed behind him. We walked through the front door, and he bent down to change his shoes. I stood behind him, staring at his broad back, and a sudden impulse hit me. I wanted to ask him if we were really doomed to stay like this forever. But I swallowed the words before they left my lips. What right did I have to ask? I was only a wife bought with his family's money, a meaningless decoration. He took off his suit jacket and handed it to Martha, rolling his shirt sleeves up to his elbows to reveal firm forearms. I have a video conference, he tossed out the line, then walked straight up the stairs to his study. I stood alone in the entryway, watching his figure vanish around the stair corner. The tiny flicker of hope I'd felt moments before was completely snuffed out. I laughed at myself bitterly, then turned and walked into my art studio. It was fine. At least I still had my drawings. I picked up my paintbrush and layered massive swathes of blue across the canvas. Blue stood for sorrow, and also for the deep ocean. I wished I could turn into a fish, swim down into that dark sea, and never come back. I painted late into the night. I only set down my brush when the sky turned pale gray with dawn. I walked over to the window and pulled back the curtains. Cool early morning sunlight washed over my face. I glanced toward the second floor and saw Silas's study light was still burning bright. He had stayed up all night. Was it for that video conference, or something else entirely? I had no clue. And I dared not ask. Chapter 2. Days passed like a calm lake without a single ripple. I buried myself in my art studio every day, building my own little world with paintbrushes. Silas still left early and came home late, buried in his business empire. We barely exchanged any words at all. Sometimes we crossed paths in the dining room, and he would ask, "Did you sleep well last night?" I would nod and answer, "I'm fine." Sometimes we met in the living room, and he would say, "It's getting cold, wear more layers." I would reply, "I know." Our conversations never went past this polite, distant surface. I slowly grew used to this life. I even thought it wasn't all bad. At the very least, he was a civil roommate. He never restricted my freedom, and supplied me with every material comfort I could want. I started trying to accept this marriage, and properly play the role of Mrs. Shin. I learned flower arranging to make the house feel warmer. I learned to simmer soups, so he would have a hot bowl to eat on the rare nights he dined at home. I thought if I tried hard enough, the distance between us might soften a little. One afternoon, I simmered lotus root pork bone soup for 4 whole hours. Calculating the time he usually finished work, I poured the soup into an insulated bucket and asked the driver to take me to Shin Group headquarters. This was my first time visiting his company. The front desk receptionist froze the second she saw me, then put on a polished professional smile. "Who are you here to see, ma'am?" "I'm looking for Silas Shin," I said. "Do you have a scheduled appointment?" "No, I'm his." I hesitated, awkwardly finishing the sentence, "his wife." The receptionist's attitude instantly turned extremely respectful. She immediately picked up the office phone to dial the executive line. "Sir, your wife is here to visit you." After hanging up, she smiled even warmer at me. "Please take a seat in the lounge, sir, will be right down." I sat on the lounge sofa holding the insulated bucket, my heart fluttering with nervousness. Would he be upset I showed up unannounced? Soon, the exclusive elevator chimed and the doors slid open. Silas stepped out, followed by several suit-wearing company executives. He looked slightly surprised to see me, but quickly regained his calm expression. "Why are you here?" He walked over to me, his tone giving away no emotion. I brought you soup." I held the insulated bucket out to him, like a student waiting for praise from a teacher. The executives behind him all stared at me with curious, probing eyes. I could feel my cheeks burning hot with embarrassment. Silas did not take the bucket. He only said flatly, "I have a meeting to attend. Wait for me in my office upstairs." He gave a quick order to his assistant, then turned and rushed off to another conference room with the group of executives. The assistant politely led me up to the top-floor CEO office. His office was enormous, decorated entirely in black, white and gray tones, cold, rigid, lacking any warmth, just like him. I set the insulated bucket down on the coffee table and sat stiffly on the leather sofa. Time ticked by minute after minute. My initial excitement faded into disappointment, then crushing heartbreak. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. The sky outside the windows slowly darkened to night. The soup I'd brought had gone completely cold. I finally realized I'd made a fool of myself today. I pulled out my phone and texted my best friend, who also happened to be Silas's younger sister, Ivy. "Ivy, does your brother hate me a lot?" Ivy called me back almost instantly. "Winnie, what's wrong? Did my brother hurt you again?" Hearing her loud, worried voice through the phone, my tears spilled over before I could stop them. "Nothing major. I just feel really sad." "Where are you?" "At his office?" "Stay right there, I'm coming over immediately." I didn't get a chance to stop her before she hung up. I wiped my tears and stood up, ready to leave this suffocating office space. The office door swung open right as I reached the threshold. Silas walked in, and his eyes widened when he saw my red puffy eyes. "What's wrong?" I said nothing, lowered my head, and tried to walk past him to leave. He suddenly grabbed my wrist to hold me back. "I asked you a question," his voice turned colder than usual. "Nothing," I twisted my arm, unable to pull free. "If nothing's wrong, why are you crying?" He frowned, clear impatience in his tone. All my suppressed frustration burst out in that moment. "Silas, do you think I'm just annoying?" I looked up at him through blurry, teary eyes. "I know you don't want to see me. I won't come here again, I promise." He stared at me in silence for a long beat. Then he let go of my wrist, pulled a navy blue handkerchief embroidered with a delicate letter S from his pocket, and held it out toward me. "Wipe your face," his tone softened a little. I refused to take it, stubbornly swiping my tears away with the back of my hand. "I don't need it." He sighed, put the handkerchief away, then reached out and wiped the wet streaks off my cheeks himself. His fingertips carried a faint cool chill against my skin, making me shiver involuntarily. "I don't hate you," he said. "There was an emergency at the company today. I was stuck in back-to-back meetings and never checked my phone." "Really?" I hesitated, not fully believing him. "Really," he nodded. "Where's the soup?" "I want to try it." I gestured toward the insulated bucket on the coffee table. He walked over and lifted the lid. A stale, cold, oily smell drifted out of the container. I felt embarrassed. "It's gone cold now." "It's fine." He picked up a spoon, scooped a full bowl, and drank every drop without a single frown. "It tastes great," he told me. I stared at him, a messy swirl of emotions swirling inside my chest. Was he just comforting me? Or did he actually care about me more than I thought? Just then, the office door burst open again. Ivy charged straight inside. "Brother, did you bully our Winnie again?" She paused when she saw us standing close together, then gave me a knowing, teasing look. "Oops, am I interrupting something?" My face burned bright red, and I quickly stepped away from Silas's side. Silas shot Ivy a sharp glare. "What are you doing here?" "I came to rescue my poor best friend." Ivy ran over and linked her arm through mine. "Winnie, let's get out of here and leave this ice block alone." Ivy half dragged me out of the office. I glanced back one last time before we stepped into the elevator. Silas still stood in the same spot watching me leave. His expression was complicated, regret, helplessness, and something I couldn't decipher hidden deep in his gaze. That night, Ivy brought me back to her apartment. We laid on her bed and talked for hours. I poured out all my grievances and confusion to her. Ivy slammed the mattress in anger after I finished speaking. "My brother is such a blockhead. His emotional intelligence is shockingly low. Don't be upset, Winnie. He isn't treating you badly on purpose, he's cold to everyone." Then her tone shifted, and she leaned in close to my ear, voice secretive. But I have a secret you can't tell him I told you. What secret? I leaned forward, curious. There's a girl he's always had feelings for, ever since college. My heart dropped hard in my chest. Who is she? Her name's Chloe Liu. She's gorgeous, and a fairly famous professional painter. Chapter 3. Chloe Liu. Those 3 words pricked my heart like a thin needle, sharp and lingeringly uncomfortable. It turned out he wasn't born cold and distant. He'd simply saved all his soft warmth for another woman. That explained why he never touched me. That explained why he always responded to my gestures of affection with icy indifference. There was already someone living deep inside his heart. I was just an unwanted intruder taking her place. All my previous doubts and uneasy feelings suddenly made perfect sense. Winnie, you look awful. Are you okay? Ivy asked, worried. I forced a weak smile. I'm fine, just a little surprised. Don't overthink it. Ivy rushed to comfort me. That's all ancient history. They haven't spoken in years. Besides, you're his legal wife right now. What does Chloe Liu even count for? Yes, I held the title of Mrs. Shin. But what good was that title? All I received from him was cold politeness and distance. That woman Chloe didn't need to do anything, yet she occupied the most important spot in his heart effortlessly. It was so unfair. A sour wave of hurt washed over me. Ivy, I'm tired. I want to sleep. I rolled over and turned my back to her. Ivy could tell I was heartbroken, so she didn't push the subject further, only gently patting my back. Sleep tight, everything will feel better after a rest. But I knew I would not sleep a wink that night. I replayed Ivy's words over and over in my head. College first love, Chloe Liu, professional painter. Every single phrase sliced at my heart over and over again. I couldn't stop imagining how perfect this Chloe woman must be. She must be beautiful, talented, gentle. Unlike me, who only had a halfway decent family background and nothing else to offer. Compared to a real professional painter, my illustrations were nothing more than childish scribbles. The more I thought about it, the smaller and more worthless I felt. From that day on, I started actively avoiding Silas entirely. I couldn't bear to look at his cold face anymore, couldn't keep reminding myself I was only a replacement. During the day, I locked myself in my art studio. At night, the second he came home, I found excuses to leave the villa. Ivy, wanna go shopping? Ivy, there's a new movie out, let's watch it together. Ivy, I found an amazing hot pot restaurant, come with me? Ivy became my perfect escape shield. I spent almost every day at her place, sometimes even staying the night. Ivy thought I was just mad at Silas over the previous incident, and even gave me advice. You're doing the right thing. Ignore him for a while. Let him realize women aren't here to be pushed around. I only smiled bitterly and said nothing. I wasn't ignoring him to get revenge. I was trying to spare myself more pain. I refused to hold any more unrealistic hopes for him. I just wanted to live my own quiet life. This routine lasted for more than half a month. I barely crossed paths with Silas at all. Our only form of contact was a single text message he sent me every night without fail. Rest early. For plain robotic words, no warmth behind them at all. I only replied with a short okay, never typing anything extra. I thought he would be relieved to have me out of his hair. After all, with me gone, the fake wife he'd never wanted would stop bothering him, leaving him free to think about his old love Chloe. But I was wrong. One day, I left Ivy's apartment planning to head to a small rental studio I'd hidden away from the villa. I didn't want to go back to that cold empty mansion, nor burden Ivy by crashing at her place every night. I just wanted a quiet space alone to breathe. As soon as I stepped through the apartment complex gate, a familiar black Bentley pulled into my line of sight. I recognized that car instantly. It was Silas's. My heart jumped into my throat. What was he doing here? Had he come to find Ivy? I instinctively ducked to hide, but it was already too late. The car door opened, and a pair of long legs stepped out onto the pavement. Then I saw the man I'd been avoiding for weeks. Chapter 4. Silas leaned against the car frame, a cigarette pinched between his fingers. The glowing red tip flickered on and off in the dark night. He looked thinner than I remembered, his jawline sharper, faint exhaustion heavy in his eyes. He lifted his head at the sound of my footsteps, his gaze locking onto me instantly. In that split second, I felt like prey trapped under a hunter's stare, nowhere to run. I froze in place, caught between running forward and stepping back. He crushed the cigarette under his shoe, then took long strides straight toward me. His leather shoes clicked against the pavement, each sharp sound pounding against my heart. I gripped my bag strap tight between my fingers, staring down at the ground, too nervous to meet his eyes. He stopped directly in front of me. A faint mix of tobacco smoke and his signature cedar wood scent wrapped all around me. You've been avoiding me? His voice was colder than the night air around us. I bit my lower lip and stayed silent. Winnie, I asked you a question, impatience edged into his tone. I took a deep breath and lifted my head, forcing my voice to sound steady. I'm not avoiding you. I just came to hang out with Ivy. Hanging out? Every single day? You don't even go home anymore? I just... Get in the car. He cut me off before I could finish explaining, opening the passenger door and ordering me in a tone that left no room for argument. I stood my ground and refused to move. I don't want to go back. Say that again? Danger flickered in his dark eyes. I felt a flicker of fear under his gaze, but I forced myself to speak up anyway. Silas, we need to talk. Talk about what? Let's get a divorce. The 3 words slipped out softly, yet exploded like a bomb into the quiet night air. Silas's face instantly darkened completely. He stared at me hard, turbulent emotions swirling deep in his pupils. Divorce? He sounded like I'd just said something absurd beyond belief. Winnie, do you understand what you're saying? I do, I nodded. I know our marriage is nothing but a business transaction. I don't want to keep going through this deal anymore. Why? There's no special reason. I turned my face away, hiding the vulnerability glistening in my eyes. I'm just tired. Tired? He stepped forward and closed the distance between us, his tall frame swallowing me entirely in shadow. What could you possibly be tired of? Is the Shin family's money not enough for you, or does the title of Mrs. Shin not give you enough status? It's neither. I shook my head. Silas, let me go, and set yourself free too. Set you free so you can run off with another man? What do you mean by that? I frowned in confusion. You know exactly what I mean. He pulled out his phone and held up a photo for me to see. The picture showed me sitting in a cafe chatting casually with a man. This man was my college senior Eli, a well-known illustrator. We'd run into each other by chance a few days prior and stopped for coffee to catch up on our careers. I never imagined such a harmless meeting would be photographed and sent straight to Silas. You sent people to follow me? I stared at him in shock. I only wanted to find out what my wife spends all her days running around doing. His tone turned icy cold. My heart sank lower and lower. In his eyes, I was just a fickle, unfaithful woman. There was not a shred of trust left between us at all. Tears instantly blurred my vision. Silas, you're terrible. I lifted my hand to slap him, but he easily caught my wrist mid-motion. What, caught red-handed, throwing a tantrum? Let me go. I struggled against his grip, tears falling freely down my cheeks. He froze for a second when he saw me crying, loosening the pressure on my wrist slightly. Why are you crying? His voice turned stiff and awkward. I'm not. I wiped my tears stubbornly. Silas, I swear I never did anything to betray you. Our conversation was completely innocent. Innocent? He scoffed. Winnie, don't forget you're my wife, officially listed under the Shin family name. So what? I shouted at him. You already have someone you love hidden in your heart, so what's wrong with me grabbing coffee with a friend? Who do I have feelings for? He furrowed his brows in confusion. Chloe Lou. I forced the name out through gritted teeth. Chapter 5. The air froze solid in an instant. A blank look crossed Silas's face for a split second. He stared at me, eyes full of confusion and probing. Who told you that? Don't ask who spilled it. My emotions spiraled out of control. Can you honestly say you don't love her? Can you say you married me only as a substitute for her, or to clear the way for her later? I poured out every ounce of hurt and suspicion I'd bottled up over the past weeks in one loud rush. After I finished yelling, I realized my voice was shaking violently. Silas fell silent. He only stood there watching me, his deep eyes a swirling dark vortex threatening to pull me under entirely. To me, his silence was a clear admission of guilt. My heart turned ice cold. I really was nothing more than a joke, a foolish girl who'd let herself fall for a man who belonged to someone else. I laughed bitterly as tears streamed faster down my face. I've had enough of this, Silas. I don't want to be anyone's shadow anymore, or live in the shadow of your first love. Let's get divorced, please. I'm begging you. I looked up at him with pleading eyes. I thought he would agree immediately. After all, he loved Chloe so deeply, he must have been waiting for a chance to give her the official wife title. But he shook his head instead. I refuse. His voice was quiet, yet unshakably firm. Why not? I stared at him in confusion. No reason, he repeated my earlier line back to me flatly. You. I was left speechless and frustrated. Winnie, I'll say this one last time. He stepped forward, gripped both my shoulders firmly, forcing me to hold eye contact with him. I don't care what messy rumors you've heard. Divorce is never going to happen, don't even entertain the thought. His fingers squeezed my shoulders hard enough to ache. What right do you have to trap me here? I fought against his hold. Only the right that comes with being your husband. His tone was domineering, leaving no room for argument. Until I grow tired of this marriage, you aren't going anywhere. Before I could fight back any further, he lifted me off the ground bridal style and carried me over to his car, shoving me into the passenger seat. The door slammed shut hard behind me. I was trapped against the car seat, unable to move. He circled around to the driver's side, climbed in, and hit the gas. The black Bentley shot forward into the dark night. The car cabin stayed dead silent the whole ride. I turned to stare out the window at the rushing streetlights, silent tears rolling down my cheeks non-stop. I had no idea where he was taking me, or what awaited me when we arrived. All I knew was I felt like a bird with broken wings, trapped forever inside the gilded cage he'd built around me. The car finally pulled up in front of our villa's gate. He climbed out, walked around to my door, and pulled it open. Get out. I didn't move. Do I need to carry you inside? There was no readable emotion in his voice. I bit my lip, unbuckled my seatbelt reluctantly, and stepped out onto the pavement. He grabbed my wrist and dragged me straight through the villa front door. The living room lights blazed bright inside. Martha the maid jumped in surprise when she saw us storming in hand. Sir, ma'am, what's? Leave us alone for now, Silas cut her off coldly. Martha didn't dare ask another question and hurried off to the back staff quarters. The huge living room was left empty except for the two of us. He let go of my wrist, tossed his suit jacket carelessly onto the leather sofa, then started unbuttoning his dress shirt one button at a time. I instinctively stepped backward, eyeing him warily. What are you planning to do? Chapter 6. He undid two shirt buttons, revealing a defined Adam's apple and a strip of firm chest muscle underneath the fabric. Streetlight filtered through the windows, casting dark shadow across his sharp facial features. He closed the distance between us step by step, forcing me to back up until my spine hit the cold marble wall, nowhere left to retreat. He raised one arm and planted his palm flat against the wall beside my ear, caging me entirely inside the space between his body and the wall. The entire area was filled with his overpowering, possessive aura. I held my breath, my heart hammering wildly in my chest. "Winnie, have you been crashing at Ivy's place on purpose this whole time?" His voice dropped low and rough, like he was holding back a storm of pent-up emotion. I opened my mouth to answer, but before I could speak, his other hand came up to pinch my chin, forcing my face upward to meet his gaze. His calloused thumb brushed gently over my jawline, a tender gesture paired with dangerous dark eyes. "You've made me sleep alone for 3 months straight, and now you're still running away from me?" My mind went completely blank. He lowered his head until his forehead pressed against mine, our warm breaths mixing together, laced with faint liquor and cedar scent wrapping all around me. His voice dropped even quieter, almost a quiet murmur that sounded like a quiet plea. "Sweetheart, are you planning to make me live without you forever?"